Mic check 1 2. Hello 2.
Enough. Can I get confirmation?
Hello. Kategoria.
Good morning. Okay. So I'm informed that I am audible now. So I'll just repeat what I said. Good morning to you all, and thank you for keeping time. My name is Alison Kuchiriza Serichacha from the Exchange, and I will be your MC for the event. I request for now 3 minutes just to accommodate our colleagues that are trying to log in, and then we can officially start the program. Thank you. Okay, so time check is 10:25. We are slightly behind schedule, but we thank you for your indulgence. And as agreed, I'd like us to proceed with our official program, and I'd like us to start off with an opening prayer, which I will say, and then I can take you through the rest of the program. God Almighty, we thank you for this beautiful morning, and we thank you for this moment in time when we are gathered here to celebrate and commemorate International Women's Day. We especially thank you for the lives of the participants online and for their health. For those that are ailing, especially those that are affected by the coronavirus, we pray for healing and their return to good health. We seek your daily guidance in our work, in our community involvement, and in our personal relationships, that we may be able to build positive progress in everything that we say and do. We especially want to commit the leaders that are responsible for impacting equality and fairness. We pray that you give them the wisdom and compassion to diligently do their duty. And in the same spirit, we pray for the people that are responsible for implementing those decisions, that you will give them integrity and dedication to implement the decisions. We pray for empowerment, that we may have the courage to continuously recognize and defend women's rights and women equality. And we pray for your blessings as we pursue this agenda in every day of our lives. In your mighty name I prayed, amen. Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to this annual Ring the Bell for Gender Equality event, which is being hosted by the Uganda Securities Exchange in collaboration with the Sustainable Stock Exchanges Initiative and the International Finance Corporation. For those who are joining us for the first time, this event is the 5th of its kind. And the primary purpose really is to raise awareness around the need for women economic empowerment, as well as the role that the private sector can play in bringing issues of gender equality to the forefront and implementing the ideals that the woman. So a special welcome to you. And those that were with us last year, we did have a physical event, I recall last year. We are equally delighted to have you with us, albeit virtually. Allow me to observe protocol at this moment. I'd like to acknowledge our special guests for the day, British American Tobacco Uganda team. I see a number of you online, but I specifically would like to mention representative of the board, Mrs. Kandi Wekesa Okoboy, who is present online. And with us to my extreme right, we have Mr. Mark Sechana, Head of Trade, representing the management team. We have our guest of our chief guest for this event, Mr. James Moria, the CEO, Centum Investments. Welcome. And we also have our partners for the event represented online by Ms. Rose Lumumba. I'd also like to recognize representatives from our primary regulator, the Capital Markets Authority. Welcome. And ladies and gentlemen, in your respective capacities that are participating online, once again, we welcome you. Thank you for taking time, setting aside time in your busy schedules this morning to join us to discuss these topical issues that are forming part of the larger discussion globally when it comes to recovery and resilience during and post the pandemic. Now, without further ado, I'd like us to delve into the program. We do have a concise program for the day, and hopefully we'll be able to finish within 1 hour, 15 minutes tops. So I kindly request that we stick to the times. Just a few housekeeping issues. For those that are participating online, please feel free to use the chat. It's at your disposal, and we'll be able to see your comments or your questions, and we'll allocate 2 or 3 minutes to attend to them in the course of a program. And without further ado, I'd like to invite the CEO of the Uganda Securities Exchange, Mr. Paul Wiso, to give us a few remarks as our host this morning. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Alison. Our special guests for the day, BAT Uganda, represented by board member Mrs. Kandi Wekesa Okoboy, and the head of trade, Mr. Mark Sechana, present with us here. Welcome, Mark. The guest of honor for this event, the CEO Centum Investments, Mr. James Moria. We welcome you to this event today and for honoring our invite. Our partners for the event, IFC, represented by Ms. Rose Lumumba, who is online. And I would really like to thank Rose for her continued efforts in ensuring this event takes place every year and supporting us throughout this initiative. Representatives from the Capital Markets Authority present online, distinguished ladies and gentlemen in your respective capacities participating in this event online, good morning. I warmly welcome you to this morning. I beg your pardon. I warmly welcome you this morning to this annual Ring the Bell for Gender Equality event held in commemoration of this year's International Women's Day. It is the 5th time the Uganda Securities Exchange is holding this event since joining the Sustainable Stock Exchanges Initiative in 2017. But at a global level, it is the 7th time the event is being held by exchanges around the world. As the exchange, we are honored to have our partners, investors, and well-wishers participating in this annual event, which we use to raise awareness on the role the private sector can play in advancing the women's economic empowerment principles and promoting the gender equality role overall. As I look into the theme of the year, looking into the theme of this year, women in leadership, achieving an eco future in a COVID-19 world. Let me start by saying this. There are many hard lessons the past year, 2020, with the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us. But among these lessons, one of those that has continuously stood out is the importance of inclusive representation in decision-making processes. If we are truly to build holistic disaster response mechanism, and if we are to fully bounce back with stronger, more resilient economies capable of absorbing and recovering from shocks such as the one we have been faced with in the recent pandemic, and with retrospect, I want to say that this approach should not only be unique to COVID-19 and pandemics for that matter, but it must cut across all forms of similar calamities and natural disasters. So, the theme selected this year could not be more timely as businesses, policymakers, regulators, and even individuals map out how to implement recovery strategies. Why does women leadership matter? No doubt the question of equality is a human rights issue. Beyond that, gender equality is good for business. An inclusive and diverse workforce is part of good business resilience and an effective risk management strategy. And such strategies allow us to build and grow strong, sustainable businesses. And as we are all aware, we're in business of selling strong and sustainable businesses to investors. Research has shown time and again that gender diversity, particularly at the leadership level, leads to higher returns. Again, this industry is in the business of ensuring sustainable returns to investors. So, as a key stakeholder and player in the capital markets, we have every reason to actively promote and sustain the cause of gender equality in leadership, because as the Women Empowerment Principles rightly put it, equality means business and returns are tangible. But what is the role of the exchange in this? Let me speak briefly about our role as an exchange. As the USC, we recognize the opportunity in the markets to increase the gender diversity, and it's against this background that we make a cautious decision to join the Sustainable Stock Exchanges initiative, so that in partnership with other exchanges around the world, we can be practical influencers in the change agenda, given the unique position we hold, first, as first-line regulators, and second, as business partners of key stakeholders in the market. Over this period, over 100 exchanges across the globe have pledged to hold similar ringing the bell events across this month. On Monday this week, the African Securities Exchange Association, ASEA, where USC is a member, held a similar event. We want to keep the conversation going, and we want to keep it going because through conversations like these ones we are having this morning, and those that have been held by our sister exchanges in their various jurisdictions, we are able to provoke thought, encourage action, share knowledge, and in so doing, break down those stereotypes that feed the biases upon which gender inequality thrives. So far, we've been able to enlist 2 local listed companies, we refer to them as issuers, that is, Stanbic Uganda Holdings Limited and Cipla Quality Chemicals Limited, to sign the Women Empowerment Principles, and we shall continue to reach out to all listed companies to take this definitive step and partner with us as ambassadors of the ideals that the principles hold. When we interrogate the gender diversity at the board levels of our issuers, we note that we may not be where we want to be in terms of numerical representation, but I do feel that there is progress worth mentioning, because we have seen companies come out of their shells to actively seek women for leadership positions at board level, not because of the optics, but because they do recognize that these women are experts in their fields. New Vision Group has previously had a female board chair, but we hope that with conversations and events such as this, more is done to recognize women in leadership positions. In terms of public accountability and reporting, where it's not mandatory under the USC rules framework to include gender metrics and sex aggregated data in the public disclosures, based on annual reporting for the year ended 2019, we have seen an increase in the number of listed companies and even stockbrokers who are adopting this reporting approach, particularly when it comes to corporate governance reporting and workforce-related data provided in annual reports. We do encourage those that are reporting this information to keep it up and perfect it. And those that are not yet, there is not yet there, to make an effort to adopt this reporting practice without further delay. Internally at the exchange, reporting workforce gender statistics at board level is done on a quarterly basis, despite our lean team, and we also report on our board gender diversity status to the public in our annual reports. Currently, we have 3 female board members, non-executive directors out of 9 board members. 2 of these female board members chair standing committees of the board. As we celebrate these milestones and others, we know we still have a long way to go. For instance, currently out of the 30,000 individual securities depository accounts held at the Securities Central Depository, only about 3,844 belong to female individual investors. About 12.8%, and we believe that is quite low. And we need to put in some effort towards that. So we need to pick up the pace on the discussion around equal access to investment opportunities and conversation of equal pay and equity when it comes to individual investment income, as this is crucial. Equal opportunities for capital mobilization for women-led businesses within the market. We need to consider closing the gender knowledge gap in investment, and we also need to expose or create exposure to how markets operate to so these are part of the discussions we need to be having at a granular level, because these and more are the smaller but fundamental steps we need to take towards the building a strong and credible pipeline for women leadership in the market and in businesses and in the wider economy. I would like to recognize BAT Uganda's endorsement for the women empowerment principles. So Mark and team, as decision makers, business leaders, especially those in the private sector, have a big role to play in this agenda, because they do shape the gender landscape of the workforce, which ultimately forms the vehicle through which we can empower women to occupy leadership spaces. And on that note, I take this opportunity to applaud the BAT Uganda's top leadership for taking this bold step in endorsing the women empowerment principles. BAT Uganda is now the 3rd local listed company on the exchange to sign the principles, another step in the right direction. So finally, and in closing, I wish to state or restate our commitment as the exchange in pushing the gender equality agenda within the market. We shall continue to ring the bell for gender equality, perhaps even more frequently. So as we keep up momentum, and with your collaboration and partnership, see that the women empowerment principles become a reality within the securities market and the larger capital markets and the Ugandan economy at large. Once again, I thank you for honoring our invitation to this event and look forward to your participation in the other activities lined up this morning. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Paul, for those remarks. They are thought-provoking discussions that we are going to have later on as the program continues. I think the message is clear. We have clear references of women in leadership positions that have demonstrated their capabilities. They have demonstrated their expertise in their various fields. So it's now a call to action in terms of actually implementing some of these, the necessary actions that breathe life into the principles that push forward the agenda of gender equality. And with that, I'd like to invite Ms. Rose Lumumba, who is online. I see her camera is on, to give us a few remarks from the IFC perspective. Rose, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Alison, for that very warm welcome. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to International Women's Day 2021. Alison, if you can hear me, please wave. Can you hear me, Alison? Oh, great. Thank you very much. So our chief guest, Mr. James Moria, my very good friend and partner in all this, Mr. Paul Buiso of Securities Exchange of Uganda, the CEO, the various company directors that have been invited to this very great event, the various CEOs who have joined us today, the management of the USE that is very formidable in ringing this bell and inviting companies to join us in walking this journey. And ladies and gentlemen who are listening and who are online and physically in the in-person event there in Kampala, happy International Women's Day 2021. When I was just preparing to come and make these remarks, I took my mind back to last year, 2020, where we had a very vibrant ringing of the bell. I remember it was at the UAP Nakawa Business Park, an in-person event that was extremely celebratory. And as we celebrated, we did not know what the year had ahead of us. And so we have had a year that has been extremely interesting, one that has brought to the fore untold pressure on businesses, on women, on men, on our health systems, on our policies as governments, etc. And of course, we have had several measures that have been taken in the region. We had our governments close our economies, movement, the many tests that we have had to go through. But we thank God that we are here yet again in 2021, ringing the bell for gender equality. And indeed, we have a lot to celebrate about. And for me, one of the things that we as businesses, you as the stock exchange and the Securities Exchange should celebrate is our resilience. I have observed in the region a lot of dedication and resilience from our businesses, from our leaders, from our women, and from everybody actually listed on this call today. This year is a special year. We celebrate our resilience as a community, both genders, male and female, but we importantly celebrate the resilience of the woman through this. I don't know what your experience was like there in Uganda, but in Kenya, I think the woman faced the greatest challenges in terms of what the pandemic brought to the fore, both in leading the family, providing for the family, undertaking business activities. And another thing that we observed from the IFC is that lots of domestic violence of the business and financial achieving an equal that women represent 39% of the global workforce. However, they accounted for 54% of the people that lost their jobs as at May 2020. And that is really telling. And it calls upon us then who are speaking about gender equality to up our socks and our activities to ensure that this gap is somewhat made shorter so that we can support our women as the backbones of our families, as well as our governments, as well as our world actually, totally. And the IFC has been working not only with stock exchanges, but also with companies to develop strategies to respond to the crisis that was brought to our faces in 2021. So the IFC gender response in 2021 and 2020 included working very closely with the private sector, coming up with actionable strategies of improving gender equality, giving solutions to employer-supported childcare, insights on how to increase financial inclusion. Actually, the Sorry, I realize I must have gotten off the call shortly, and allow me to proceed with the speech. And so, I was just at the point that IFC is working very closely with companies to close the gaps that are between the female gender and the male gender in terms of business leadership, employment, consumer products, entrepreneurship, and also just being community stakeholders. Societies with more gender equality tend to be more resilient. They tend to be more tolerant to gender violence. Economies that reduce barriers between men and women in the workplace boost their growth. And this really is from just the experience of the World Bank Group as we work in all communities and all countries across the globe. This is what we have experienced. We have also experienced that organizations that fail to address the gender gap, they risk being left behind. And we have several examples of organizations that have been left behind because they did not embrace gender equality. And for these reasons, therefore, the IFC emphasizes the business case for increased gender diversity on company boards, as well as the importance of preparing competent women for these senior positions. During the year, we actually came up with teaching modules of empowering women and teaching them on, so when you get to the board, what exactly do you do? And how do you present yourself so that you bring your best value to the table? Now, we have made a lot of progress, and Paul mentioned some statistics, and in the region, we are not doing too well, neither are we doing too badly in terms of the women leadership on boards. But let me give you some statistics which are there internationally. So worldwide, women hold only 17% of the board seats, and only 5% of women chair boards. Only 4% of women hold CEO positions, and only 12.7% hold CFO positions. You can see how we are doing. Our statistics for the region are not any different. We are not doing any better than the statistics I've just given you that present a global view. But let us note that addressing the barriers that prevent women from ascending to top leadership positions, to boards and businesses, is really one that we can do if we embrace a multifaceted approach. No one issue or no one strategy will work. And every company, every person, every leader, every securities exchange needs to play their part. At the IFC, we actually prioritize gender balance. And as at December 2020, 49% of the IFC nominee directors appointed to boards where IFC has made investments were all women. I know we haven't hit the 50% mark, but we are at 49, and we are working very conscientiously to ensure that this number improves, and we are preparing the many women that we appoint to such positions. Our support for gender smart business solutions includes working with companies in developing countries to generate opportunities for women that also contribute to the bottom line. And so we are working very closely with stock exchanges all over the world, and stock exchanges form a formidable force, an alliance with the IFC and all those other partners that were listed by Alison to ensure that really we have a gender equitable economic opportunity given to everyone. Nobody should be left behind. So we encourage security exchanges to prioritize diversity in their own corporate structures in the first place. So security exchanges, your boards should be looking like they are gender balanced. And also to encourage the companies that you regulate and whose shares you facilitate their trading of, to ensure that really there is gender balance in their own companies. I wish to congratulate the Uganda Securities Exchange. Since we began to ring the bell 5 years ago, I have seen very, very concerted and very, very conscious steps taken by the exchange in spreading the good message of gender diversity. Not only have you encouraged your companies to ensure that there's gender diversity in their boards, but you have encouraged them to also sign the women empowerment principles. Today, I join you, Mr. Buiso, in congratulating the British American Tobacco Company for making that very bold statement that it matters to be gender balanced. It matters to have a representation from the female gender in their leadership, in their board, and their management as well. Increasing the participation of women as leaders, entrepreneurs, consumers, employees, and business leaders is not only a moral imperative, but it's also a smart business strategy. God made two genders, and actually we are our own enemies when we don't embrace that. When I rang the bell in Rwanda last year, the chairman of the Rwanda Capital Markets Authority made a statement that always rings in my mind. And he said that when we don't embrace any gender, and in this case I say, if you are a women-only led company or a man-only led company and you're not embracing that gender, whichever gender it is, male or female, you are like a person created with 2 feet, but you choose to hop around on 1 foot. You are like a person created with 2 hands, but you choose to work with 1 hand. You are like a person created with 2 eyes, but you choose to close your 1 eye and only see with 1 eye. Imagine how foolish you would look, surely. And so for us, we have embraced gender at the IFC, and we encourage all our partners to actually embrace that so that we can all be smart in our business strategies. So let me end by once again congratulating the Uganda Securities Exchange for bringing us together to deliberate and talk and celebrate on the milestones we have made in our gender diversity, and also to just give us this opportunity to congregate. I wish the pandemic was not there, because I would be there in person to embrace everybody who has walked in this journey. Happy International Women's Day and month. We are celebrating the entire month of March. Thank you very much.
remarks has really breathed life into the discussion that we're having here today. Three things that I've picked. The first, really that it makes no sense to hop on one leg when you have two legs. So I think that message should be passed across the nation, and I think the example that you've given is relatable and easy to understand. Secondly, thank you for giving us a bird's eye view of where we stand in terms of the global statistics with respect to the efforts around gender equality, board representation, and really waking us up in terms of the additional miles that we need to run in terms of making this a reality. The third thing is around resilience, and it's interesting that you really highlight the issue of resilience from the ladies' perspective, the working ladies' perspective, how we've been coping, how we've been impacted, and what are the tangible solutions that we're actually mapping out to see that there is a sustainable response in that area. And that brings me to our next agenda item, where we actually reached out to the ladies within the capital markets to share with us a little bit of their experience during the past year, the changes that we've been able to deal with, the shocks we've been able to accommodate, and how we are coping. So I'll request our co-moderator, Shen, to share with us that message so that we can listen to these ladies and commiserate with them.
Commemorating International Women's Day 2021, Uganda Securities Exchange rings the bell for gender equality. In partnership with IFC, this year, women in Uganda capital markets commemorate International Women's Day by sharing their thoughts on topical issues that continue to take center stage in the discussion of sustainable recovery now and in the post-COVID era. A feature sharing key learnings, experiences, and discovering the role women can play as key stakeholders in championing resilience and recovery.
When COVID-19 hit, like everybody, the positive was not easy to actually come by. I think was the uncertainty, the discomfort, the disorientation, all of it. It was not very easy.
COVID-19 changed the way we work and life generally, globally. And with the BAT Uganda, we've had to adapt to those changes. This being the new normal, we basically have to take into account the requirements of our staff in regard to the resources they need to work remotely.
On the organizational level, the COVID-19 pandemic presented different opportunities for organization where we're able to create and innovate new concepts like systems and solutions.
In the beginning it was difficult, but I must say afterwards I was able to recognize that we were able to save time, especially traveling time. So if you actually cut the traveling time, which could be 2 hours, 4 or 5 hours, if you're counting the morning hours and the evening hours, the traffic of to and fro, and that time now can best be utilized to actually do your roles better.
At BAT Uganda, it's remarkable how our team has adapted to the change in the work culture. It goes to show that as management, we have a team that is energized, strong, and agile.
So in terms of career development and promotional opportunities, they were also available to us as working women. So that was also a plus.
Working from home has given me the opportunity of flexible hours as opposed to like the 8 to 5 working hours.
The lockdown was quite good for me, especially working from home. It gave me the peace of mind knowing that you're home, you can have a look at your child and then also do your work.
And as a mother, it gave me the opportunity to bond more with my children. Yeah, it actually took away this issue of leaving home when they are sleeping sometimes and then going back when again they are sleeping. You spend the whole day together. It's only a matter of scheduling your time and work well. Work continued and progressed actually more than before because I became more productive.
The challenges I faced during the lockdown was given the fact that the child was still little. She would sometimes wake up at a time when you need to concentrate or need attention at the time. You also need to pay attention to your work. So I had to make sure that I revised my active work hours to the times when she's not taking away my peace of mind.
First, when it comes to the women in the tech world, that looks like the forthcoming resolution of the industry. That's where we have more technology that is ongoing. The world has gone more digital. We have more digital processes going on. For women to be leaders in that industry, it requires one to be motivated and have confidence and strength to study and learn more things to do with the tech. You need to go on, carry on with different studies, and that requires you to study more. And we believe as the women take lead, it will clear that belief and also impress and inspire the next generation to join in the tech world.
For the challenges in work-life balance, first of all, there are so many unrealistic demands at hand. For example, you find that some of your work assignments are eating into your personal time, such as meetings in the weekends.
COVID-19 disorganized everyone, but perhaps in that disorganization there was also a need for us to realign and accept that perhaps it would be important to coexist with COVID for quite some time. And so it was a little bit definitely challenging. We began realizing how over-dependent we were on Kenyan trucks, that almost 80% of our goods were moving on Kenyan trucks. And sometimes they would come and even stay at the border and say, we are not entering, those kind of things. So it was really a trying moment, but also definitely to work up us to reduce on our over-dependence. It doesn't mean that we won't outsource again, but we outsource only if it is a must. And so those are some of the things. Then technology, we stopped having to meet physically. Everything changed, which we are happy with. Now it's the norm. I've just finished a Zoom meeting. In terms of people, we are also being challenged. We want people to learn new skills. We see that the ICT and all these new things happening, artificial intelligence and the fourth industrial revolution is going to be definitely a big thing.
The pandemic has been difficult for everybody. It's been difficult for people who work at the regulator. It's been difficult for the industry itself. It's been difficult globally. And one of the challenges I see is mental health. A lot of women have a challenge of being always switched on. You know, people are working from home. Work hours are not clearly, prescribed when it comes to working from home. So a lot of the people I've interacted with have had a challenge of just when can I switch off and relax? I think right now people who are in leadership need to be checking in with their staff. How are you doing? Are you managing to work from home? Do you have the resources to work from home? Do you have internet? Do you have the money to buy a laptop? How are you supervising your children? All these are things that leaders have to be checking in with their staff to see how are you coping. And then, of course, after you ask people how they're coping, you have to have some solutions, designed specifically to meet individual needs. And I think the focus now is on flexibility. The focus is on hearing the employees. The focus is on designing programs that actually address these issues of work-life balance.
Achieving an eco future in a COVID-19 world. USE, inspiring growth. Wash hands, wear mask, stay safe. Commemorating International Women's Day 2021. Uganda Securities Exchange rings the bell for gender
Thank you for that. Apologies for the initial glitch at the start. I think it was an internet speed issue. One of the people that were the head of legal, Miriam, talked about the issue of internet. So, but we'll be able to circulate the clip so that you can watch at your convenience. And just to mention, we are also streaming live on Twitter and YouTube social media platforms. So you can also check with the uploaded video at your convenience thereafter after this. But I think in terms of the message that is coming through from the ladies, it's clear. And it's been interesting sharing listening to some of those experiences, some of which I believe most of us can relate to. Without further ado, I'd like us to proceed with the highlight of today's event, which is the signing of the Women's Empowerment Principles by British American Tobacco Uganda. And at this juncture, I'd like to invite Mrs. Candy Wekesa Okoboy to say a few remarks before we get into the sign-off ceremony. In terms of introduction, I know Candy needs no introduction in this market. She's been a key person at the exchange. She's been a key person at the capital market.
My video is too dark.
So we're delighted to see her in a leadership position which can actually inspire women in the market to go further and beyond the positions we're at. Candy, you're welcome, and good to see you online. And over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind introduction, Alice. I'm just trying to work on the light here so the image can be a little bit better. But I'll proceed with my remarks. First, recognizing all the invited guests to this significant occasion and observing all protocols that have been mentioned prior to my remarks. So on behalf of the board and management of BAT Uganda, I really do thank and recognize the Uganda Securities Exchange for being at the forefront of this effort. I also recognize your strong partner in IFC, and thank you for according BAT Uganda this opportunity to endorse the Women Empowerment Principles. It is indeed a corporate landmark for us, and I would like to state that the entire board and management of BAT are extremely delighted about this opportunity. So diversity through gender inclusion and women empowerment has always been one of the core values of the foundation of BAT Uganda's culture. Globally, BAT has set bold ambitions to 2025 to increase the proportion of women in senior management, in leadership, and in management. Our targets are 45% for senior management. I know Rose is targeting 50, and I think we're challenged here. I think we need to revise our figures as well. Our target for senior leadership is 40%. BAT Uganda has been working towards this strategy, and for the first time since 2017, there is female representation on the board, and the women workforce is at 40%. BAT Uganda appreciates the creation of a conducive work environment and holds dear the key elements of women empowerment, particularly during this unprecedented time, which previous speakers have talked about. In this time, we prioritized the creation of a customized and conducive work environment, particularly for our female staff, who in the video have made a very good case for why flexi hours and flexible work environments are important for them. BAT Uganda recognizes that women's responsibility in the domestic environment, particularly in this lockdown, required corporates to pay special attention to the issue of flexible work hours to enable this critical workforce still comply and get on with their work obligations while attending to the ever-growing and always important family responsibilities. These adjustments provided and continue to provide a supportive environment for our staff to thrive and realize their full potential. And I think from the video that has just been played, this rings true for many of our female workforce members in many institutions and in many corporates. So why is it important for women to be at the decision-making table? And as the previous speaker has said, Rose Lumumba, the answer to this question cannot be overstated. It is important that we women have an equal seat at the decision-making table for several reasons, but more importantly, because we offer a unique and diverse perspective to business solutions. And Rose has said, we are the second leg, we are that second arm, we are the second eye. Having women sit at decision-making tables enriches corporate decisions with wide range viewpoints and ideas, which ultimately strengthen business and company competitiveness, innovativeness, and ability to look at holistic decisions. Last year, we all know, and probably this year as well, businesses around the world experienced and will continue to experience unprecedented times. And many shops have closed, many things have changed. Many companies have been hit hard and financial performance is teetering on failure for many of us. Our very existence was shaken. It is a true testament to the sustainability of business being highly hinged on a robust business continuity plan. Women play a huge contribution in this regard and in the development of robust business strategies through the application of their diverse ideas and their high level of emotional intelligence. The effects of COVID-19 as a game changer and the times that have emerged as a result mean that women empowerment is a significant and relevant goal for all of us. Research has shown that empowered women are more likely to contribute to the broad livelihood of our communities, and as such, we're influential towards the formulation of sound policies for business sustainability and for corporate social responsibility and the impact of CSR, which is even more needed right now. So with those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to salute the USC again for its dedication to gender diversity. You have been consistent year on year in demonstrating that you're strong in this regard. You believe very strongly in this mission and you continue to lead us. I also salute the he for she's, those men in positions of authority that have joined this cause and on whose shoulders many women stand. I salute you and I thank you. I also salute all the women at this event and indeed all the women in our beloved country. Thank you very much. And on behalf of BAT, we are privileged and we're excited to ring the bell today and to continue ringing the bell towards this effort. Thank you.
I'm going to request that for purposes of endorsement of the principles, you will proceed to read to us the principles verbatim as they appear in the statement of endorsement. And then on the physical side here at the exchange, we shall have Mark sign off to confirm BAT's endorsement of the principles. Over to you, Candy.
Thank you, Alison. So we BAT Uganda business leaders express support for advancing equality between women and men. 2, bring the broadest pool of talent to our endeavors, further our company's competitiveness, meet our corporate responsibility and sustainability commitments, model behavior within our company that reflects the society we would like for our employees, fellow citizens, and families, encourage economic and social conditions that provide opportunities for men and women, boys and girls, and foster sustainable development in countries in which we operate. Therefore, we as BAT welcome the provisions of the Women's Empowerment Principles. Equality means business produced and disseminated by the UN entity for gender equality and the empowerment of women, UN Women, and the United Nations Global Compact. The principles present 7 steps that business and other sectors can take to advance and empower women. Equal treatment for women and men is not just the right thing to do, it is also good for business. The full participation of women in our enterprise and in the larger community makes sound business sense now and into the future. A broad concept of sustainability and corporate responsibility that embraces women's empowerment is a key goal, as a key goal will benefit us all. The 7 steps of the Women's Empowerment Principles will help us realize these opportunities. We encourage business leaders in Uganda and around the world to join BAT Uganda and use the principles as guidance for actions that we can all take in the workplace, in the marketplace, and community to empower women and benefit our companies and societies. We as BAT Uganda will strive to use sex disaggregated data in our sustainability reporting to communicate progress to all our stakeholders. Please join us, please join BAT Uganda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Candy. I wish we could, I think we can clap as we're in the room. Those who are online, I encourage you to use your virtual tools to express your upload for BAT. But I'll just ask Mark to join me over here. I confirm that Mark, and maybe Candy can confirm with me that Mark is fully delegated by BAT to sign off here. And we can document this historic moment.
I can confirm, Alison, that Mark holds the full authority, delegated authority for this purpose. Mark, kindly represent us.
Thank you. Yes. Please. Okay, so it is dusk. I hope you can hear the claps from wherever you are to working with you as partners in implementing some of these principles and influencing your counterparts in the market to take up similar action. Thank you. Proceeding with the program. We are extremely honored to have Mr. James Moria attend this event as a chief guest. James Moria is the CEO of Centum Investments, which is one of the largest companies, East Africa-wise, one of the largest listed companies in East Africa. Its primary market is the Nairobi Stock Exchange, but it is cross-listed at the Uganda Securities Exchange. Candy talked about the issues on whose shoulders a number of women stand, and James was selected specifically with this in mind. So James, you're welcome to this event. Thank you for honoring our invite, and we look forward to hearing from you regarding this theme, this event, and the issue, the topical issue of gender equality generally. Over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, and it's a real pleasure to be invited for this important event. I want to thank and congratulate Uganda Securities Exchange for the wonderful work that you're doing in many fora, but particularly this particular one around ringing the bell for gender equity, but also the work you've done in terms of bringing on board listed companies to sign the compact on women empowerment principles. Congratulations. I'm also very grateful to have had this opportunity to be invited to speak at this important event. Thank you very much, IFC and Rose Lumumba, for extending me that invitation. It's indeed an honor and a privilege, not just for me, but for Centum and all the colleagues that I lead, to be associated with this kind of important occasion and important event. A lot has been said about the importance of gender equality in business. And I thought today I would not just speak about the principles of gender equality, but I would take this opportunity to celebrate the various women that have played a critical role in our business, but also in my own life growing up to where I am today, so that we can bring the story home. It is true, as has been said, that gender equality is not just good for women, it's good for business, but beyond that, it's also good for men, and it's good for society. And I think I just wanted to share just a few stories of my own personal testimony of what gender equality has done for me and for my business. And I want to celebrate a couple of women today, and I think it's appropriate given that it's International Women's Month. I think the first such person is my own wife, who's probably in this meeting, Joan Moria. She's not just a love of my life, but she's my business partner. And she's somebody who, when we bring, we discuss business and bring various discussions on the table, she always brings a different perspective. Women have that ability to have the intuition, the empathy, and to understand many times what is not said, which is what Candy was speaking about, emotional intelligence. And if she was not there in my life and in the business that we do, and sometimes even in the work challenges that I face, I'll probably make very different decisions. So I celebrate Joanne for your contribution. And of course, through your contribution and the various businesses we're involved in, we've been able to employ many people and empower many people, and also for what she does in empowering women in the various activities she's involved in, specifically where she's a chairlady of one of the leading schools for women. I think the other person I wanted to celebrate in my own journey is my own mom. She was running a business, a food delivery business, when I was maybe in 10, 11 years. And she had employed me in that business. And one of our customers was a local corporate. And that particular corporate were having some business challenges with them. And she sent me to go and engage with the general manager of the business. At the time, the GM was probably, he looked like he was 60 to me, but reflecting back, he was probably in his mid-40s. quite well endowed in the midsection. So he was quite an intimidating guy. And I told my mom, look, I'm not sure I can be able to handle this situation. And she really affirmed me. He said, look, you're just as good as him. Go and deal with the situation and come and report your successes. Now, if she had not been empowered to be in business, I would not have had that first leadership lesson. And probably I would not be sitting where I am sitting today, empowering other people. So one of my points that it's not just enough for women to be empowered in business. It's also important for those who have been empowered to open the doors for others in both genders, both male and female, because when men are also empowered by women, the men understand the importance of empowering both genders. The other women I'd like to celebrate are the women on our own board of directors. 40% of our board is made up of women, and we have 4 main board committees. Out of the 4, 3 are led by women. 1 is led by a man. And I've been in this organization long enough, from when we had only 1 or 2 board members to when we almost have now half of the board as women. And they bring a very different and interesting perspective when we are discussing issues. They have a certain influence and intuition and wisdom that sometimes is not there if we're only having a discussion with men. And they have really contributed greatly to the organization that we are today. I would also like to celebrate just 2 women in our portfolio companies. We have many portfolio companies, but 2 of our main companies are led by women at CEO level. And we've achieved exceptional results. And I just want to affirm the statistics that have been given around there being a correlation between financial performance and gender equality. One of our most successful exits is an exit we did in a beverage company, Almasi Beverages. And that company is led by a woman called Joyce Masharia. And Joyce took over the leadership of that organization in 2014 at a time when the company was not doing well. And she turned it around, growing profitability from just slightly over 100 million shillings to the time when we exited, it was 1 billion shillings, which was more than $10 million. And we secured an exit in excess of $120 million, courtesy of Joyce and her leadership of her team. So I can bear testimony to the power of women in leadership and what they can achieve when they are empowered, and the kind of empowerment they are capable of giving their organizations, regardless of gender. And even though we exited that company, Joyce continues to be the CEO of that business and to lead it from strength to strength. And I think opportunities such as this, where we showcase the positive impact of women in leadership, I believe are critical. And that's why, once again, I commend the USC for arranging this event. Is that we move from the theory to the practical, so that people can see from practical what does the real evidence in our market suggest. And this is a manufacturing business. It's very male dominated. But for the first time, we had a woman leader, and she's achieved exceptional results. Another business that is traditionally male dominated, where we invested in, is Isuzu Motors, which is a motor vehicle assembly business. It's the largest in the region. And this business is led by an exceptional woman called Rita Kavashe. She also sits on the boards of several of the large businesses. And she grew up in the business from the sales side, eventually taking over the leadership. And she's totally transformed this business. She's seen it grow and expand across the region. She's empowered both genders, because when you empower the organization, you empower both genders, regardless of what the gender is. And she's, in the process, delivered exceptional financial results, even in a COVID year when many companies cut their dividend. Rita still contributed her dividend. So I really want to celebrate leaders like Rita, who are showing in deeds that women are capable of delivering exceptional results. I also want to celebrate the 2 ladies in our own HR department, which is led by 2 women, Rachel Matelechere and Pauline Malala, for what they have done in terms of creating an environment that is conducive for both genders, because it's one thing to say on paper we want to promote gender equality, but sometimes there are certain conditions in the workplace that make it difficult for women to thrive beyond a certain point. And some of the policies they have put in place, for example, is at the initial recruitment, when we bring in management trainees, sort of getting some equality at that particular level, so that you give women an equal opportunity through the door. Policies that we've enacted around the sexual harassment in the workplace, so that women feel are protected and they are safe in the work environment. Policies around even the environment, even the home environment, around the nursing rooms, flexible working hours, which are policies that they have enacted. And as a result, we have a very significant female participation in the workforce of at least 40%. I know it can improve, and we are working to improve it, but we've really come a long way, and I want to celebrate those particular women. The other thing I just want to leave with a challenge is that I think a lot has been done, and a lot more can be done by businesses to promote gender equality. But likewise, I think for those women who have had an opportunity to sit at the table, I think also they can play a critical role by making a significant contribution, so that women earn their place at the table, not out of an affirmative action, but out of merit, where one feels that, and actually backed by evidence, that women are adding real value in businesses. I think we have that obligation. And for the men in leadership, we also have an obligation to ensure that we create the conducive conditions for women who we work with to succeed and make a real tangible difference. And when they do so, to celebrate them and to showcase them, so that we can have more women being considered in senior positions, coming in at all positions actually, because you need them to come even at entry-level positions, to thrive in middle management, to go up to senior leadership, eventually to end up at board levels where decisions are made, and where they have a voice at the table, where they are listened to, and we take their contribution on board. As I said earlier, that is important, not just for society, not just for business, but it is important for both genders, and to do it not just in business, but to start in our homes, because the family is the basic unit of society, and leaders come from somewhere, and our views and values are formed at that very basic level. So if we don't see it in our houses, in our homes, even as men, then it is difficult to shape those views through policy in the corporate environment. And so both of us, both genders, male and female, fathers and mothers, we have an obligation, I think, to model it and to demonstrate even to the boy child that mothers are empowering them, so that when they are in a position of leadership, they can remember that it is a woman who empowered me to be in the position that I am. I want to conclude my remarks at that point by congratulating USC, by congratulating all the wonderful women who have put this event together, by celebrating the occasion of ringing the bell for gender equality, and looking forward to the coming year when we live and continue to do better. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me and for giving me this opportunity. Asanteni. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your experience. And I think in many ways it has sort of brought the principles home in terms of a practical understanding, real life experience. So thank you for that. Thank you for also recognizing those leading women in your life and in the work or business environment. You've set the bar pretty high. I encourage them to take a cue from you. I think I'll leave that as the challenge of the day, for them to identify those leading ladies in their lives and to recognize them, to celebrate them for the contribution they have made in their lives in terms of introducing them to leadership, but also edging them on to progress in their different personal spheres of life. At this point, I would like us to go to, before we go to that, I'd like to get confirmation from the co-moderator as to whether we have any comments or questions via the chat. I take it there are none. So this would not be a ringing the bell event if we did not actually ring the bell. So I would like to invite Mark, representing BAT here physically, and our CEO, Paul. We do have a couple of ladies in the office, and I would request them to kindly join us. Salma, Sarah, and we can participate in this last activity for that day, as we, one, once again, but two, as market, all the ladies on the call, and even the gender out the call, the collaboration between the gender actually come to life. And without further ado, I'll ask Mark, in collaboration with, okay, I think you hold it and socially distance your hands. Proceed to ring the bell. Thank you. For those of you who are joining for the first time or attending a first session of Ring the Bell, we always ring the bell at the exchange or at exchanges world over when we want to, well, usually it's at opening of the market or closing the market, but also when we have a significant or special event, we ring the bell to emphasize its significance. Once again, thank you. Thank you to all of you who attended this event online. Thank you, Candy. Thank you, James. Thank you, Rose, for joining us this morning. And the team here, thank you for participating in this last exercise that we did. I wish you all a pleasant rest of the day.
Commemorating International Women's Day 2021, Uganda Securities Exchange rings the bell for gender equality. In partnership with IFC, this year, women in Uganda capital markets commemorate International Women's Day by sharing their thoughts on topical issues that continue to take center stage in the discussion of sustainable recovery now and in the post-COVID era. A feature sharing key learnings, experiences, and discovering the role women can play as key stakeholders in championing resilience and recovery.
When COVID-19 hit, like everybody, the positive was not easy to actually come by. I think was the uncertainty, the discomfort, the disorientation, all of it, it was not very easy.
COVID-19 changed the way we work and life generally, globally. And with the BAT Uganda, we've had to adapt to those changes. This being the new normal, we basically have to take into account the requirements of our staff in regard to the resources they need to work remotely.
On the organizational level, the COVID-19 pandemic presented different opportunities for organization. We were able to create and innovate new concepts like systems and solutions.
In the beginning it was difficult, but I must say, afterwards I was able to recognize that we were able to save time, especially traveling time. So if you actually cut the traveling time, which could be 2 hours, 4 or 5 hours, if you're counting the morning hours and the evening hours, the traffic of to and fro. And that time now can best be utilized to actually do your roles better.
At BAT Uganda, it's remarkable how our team has adapted to the change in the work culture. It goes to show that as management, we have a team that is energized, strong and agile.
So in terms of career development and promotional opportunities, they were also available to us as working women. So that was also a plus.
And working from home has given me the opportunity of flexible hours as opposed to like the 8 to 5 working hours.
The lockdown was quite good for me, especially working from home. It gave me the peace of mind knowing that you're home, you can have a look at your child and then also do your work.
And as a mother, it gave me the opportunity to bond more with my children. Yeah, it actually took away this issue of leaving home when they are sleeping sometimes, and then going back when again they are sleeping. You spend the whole day together. It's only a matter of scheduling your time and work well. Work continued and progressed actually more than before because I became more productive.
The challenges I faced during the lockdown was given the fact that the child was still little. She would sometimes wake up at a time when you need to concentrate or need attention at the time. You also need to pay attention to your work. So I had to make sure that I revise my active work hours to the times when she's not taking away my peace of mind.
First, when it comes to the women in the tech world, that looks like the forthcoming resolution of the industry. That's where we have more technology that is ongoing. The world has gone more digital. We have more digital processes going on. For women to be leaders in that industry, it requires one to be motivated and have confidence and strength to study and learn more things to do with the tech. You need to carry on with different studies, and that requires you to study more. And we believe as the women take lead, it will clear that belief and also impress and inspire the next generation to join in the tech world.
For the challenges in work-life balance, first of all, there are so many unrealistic demands at hand. For example, you find that some of your work assignments are eating into your personal time, such as meetings in the weekends.
COVID-19 disorganized everyone, but perhaps in that disorganization there was also a need for us to realign and accept that perhaps it would be important to coexist with COVID for quite some time. And so it was a little bit definitely challenging. We began realizing how over-dependent we were on Kenyan trucks, that almost 80% of our goods were moving on Kenyan trucks. And sometimes they would come and even stay at the border and say, we are not entering, those kind of things. So it was really a trying moment, but also definitely to work up us to reduce on our overdependence. It doesn't mean that we won't outsource again, but we outsource only if it is a must. And so those are some of the things. Then technology, we stopped having to meet physically. Everything changed, which we are happy with. Now it's the norm. I've just finished a Zoom meeting. In terms of people, we are also being challenged. We want people to learn new skills. We see that the ICT and all these new things happening, artificial intelligence and the fourth industrial revolution is going to be definitely a big thing.
The pandemic has been difficult for everybody. It's been difficult for people who work at the regulator. It's been difficult for the industry itself. It's been difficult globally. And one of the challenges I see is mental health. A lot of women have a challenge of being always switched on. You know, people are working from home. Work hours are not clearly, prescribed when it comes to working from home. So a lot of the people I've interacted with have had a challenge of just when can I switch off and relax? I think right now people who are in leadership need to be checking in with their staff. How are you doing? Are you managing to work from home? Do you have the resources to work from home? Do you have internet? Do you have the money to buy a laptop? How are you supervising your children? All these are things that leaders have to be checking in with their staff to see how are you coping. And then, of course, after you ask people how they're coping, you have to have some solutions, designed specifically to meet individual needs. And I think the focus now is on flexibility. The focus is on hearing the employees. The focus is on designing programs that actually address these issues of work-life balance.
Achieving an eco future in a COVID-19 world. USE, inspiring growth. Wash hands, wear mask, stay safe. Commemorating International